For anyone who has battled through major depression, just getting to recovery is a huge, huge victory. But so often, the fight isn't over. One of the toughest parts is making sure that depression doesn't come back. So today, let's dive into a really fascinating new clinical trial that tested a whole new way of doing just that.
And that's the big question, right? For millions of people, depression can be incredibly stubborn. So, once you get it under control, preventing a relapse becomes the #1 goal. This is why researchers are always on the hunt for better and, frankly, safer long-term options.
And that's really the heart of the problem here. For so many people, the battle doesn't just stop when they start feeling better. The next major hurdle is preventing a relapse, which, as you can imagine, is a massive challenge for everyone involved. We're talking about a specific situation here called treatment-resistant depression, or TRD. Basically, this is when someone's depression just hasn't gotten better, even after they've tried at least 2 different standard antidepressants. It's an incredibly tough spot to be in, for both patients and their doctors.
And this slide really shows you why the search for something new is so critical. Look at the current long-term options. Lithium is a go-to, but the line between a helpful dose and a harmful one is super thin, so you need constant blood tests. Other meds can cause metabolic problems or movement issues. There's a clear, urgent need for something safer and just easier to live with.
Okay, so this brings us to a really cool head-to-head clinical trial. Researchers basically set up a showdown pitting 2 very different treatments against each other to see which one could keep depression from coming back more effectively and with fewer problems.
And I love this matchup. It's a total classic. In one corner, you've got the old standby, lithium. It's a pill. It affects your whole body, and it's been a standard treatment for ages. And in the other corner, you have the new challenger, repetitive TMS, or rTMS. This is a targeted, non-invasive brain stimulation technique. It's really the old guard versus the new tech.
So what is rTMS exactly? The easiest way to think about it is like a highly focused magnetic massage for the very specific parts of your brain that control your mood. It's totally non-invasive. A magnetic coil is just placed on your head, and it sends these little magnetic pulses to wake up those nerve cells. No surgery, no drugs going through your whole system. So, to find out which one was better for preventing relapse, researchers in Japan set up this really rigorous head-to-head competition. Let's take a look inside to see exactly how they did it.
Now, this wasn't just some small study. This was a formal, randomized clinical trial called MAINT-R. It ran for 5 years, from 2018 to 2023, in Tokyo. So the results we're about to see are built on a really solid foundation.
Okay, so here's how they set it up. It was pretty straightforward. First, they found 75 adults with TRD, and this is the key part. These were people who had already gotten better after an initial round of rTMS. So the study was all about maintenance, not the initial treatment. Then, they randomly split them into 2 groups. Half got weekly rTMS sessions, the other half got daily lithium pills. And, for 24 weeks, the researchers just tracked their symptoms to see who relapsed.
All right, the moment of truth. After 24 weeks, the showdown was over, and it was time to crunch the numbers. The researchers were really looking at 2 main things. First, how well did each treatment work? And second, how safe was it?
So, let's get right to it. The big one. Who won? Did the new challenger, rTMS, actually manage to beat the old champion, Lithium, at keeping depression at bay?
Let's look at the scoreboard. In the group getting those weekly rTMS sessions, over 24 weeks, there were 7 relapses. And now for the lithium group. Over that same time period, the number of the people who relapsed was, get this, exactly the same, 7.
Wow. That is a striking result. When it came to just pure effectiveness, it was a statistical dead heat. Neither one was better than the other. About 18% of people in both groups relapsed, which, by the way, is a pretty strong performance for both treatments.
So this brings up the next obvious question. If they both work equally well, is there any tiebreaker? Is there any other reason you might choose one over the other? Well, that's when the researchers turn their focus from efficacy over to safety.
And this is where the story gets really interesting.
The group taking lithium reported a total of 16 different adverse events. Things like tremors, headaches, stuff like that. And the rTMS group, only 3. That is a massive difference.
Let's just put a number on that to see how big it is. When the researchers did the math, they found that people taking lithium were over 7 times more likely to report a side effect compared to the people getting rTMS. 7 times! That is a huge gap in how well these treatments are tolerated.
So, what does this all mean when you put it all together? Well, these results seem to point toward a really powerful and promising new strategy for managing depression over the long haul.
And you don't have to take my word for it. The study's own conclusion spells it out perfectly. They wrote that rTMS showed comparable efficacy as well as better safety and tolerance compared with lithium. It's pretty black and white.
And here's why this matters so much. It means that for people with this very tough-to-treat depression, there might finally be an option to prevent relapse that works just as well as the standard medication, but is way, way easier on the body. It gives people a choice that doesn't involve trading effectiveness for a heavy burden of side effects.
So you have to wonder, right? This kind of research opens up a huge new possibility. If we start having tools that can keep depression away without all the difficult side effects, could that fundamentally change how we approach not just treating depression, but actually managing it for a healthy, long life? It's a pretty exciting thought.